Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, there's some.
Good. So whenever you're not, you don't want to let it go. Hit the button.
Anything?
You'll just take it.
Is it okay? Have a chance? Okay. Well, it's 6 o'clock. We can start. You give me the thumbs up. Yeah, perfect. Well, good evening. Welcome to tonight's candidate forum and debate, sponsored by the Uvalde Leader-News and Southwest Texas Junior College. My name is Craig Garnett. I'm publisher of the newspaper, and I'm going to be the moderator of tonight's forum. The newspaper solicited questions from the public. We received way more than we thought we would, which is a wonderful thing. Over 60 questions. So needless to say, given our time limitations, we can't ask all of those unless we're going to spend the night. So we pared them down and we offered some explanations in some places and some context and some additional details. We expect this to be a nonpartisan event. That's what it is. We want our candidates to be heard without interruption. This is not a town hall, so we would not like to have interruption in the form of shouting or cheering or jeering or anything that detracts from these people being able to answer your questions in full. Also being mindful of the fact that the event is being live streamed. So if you'll cooperate in that regard, would be very grateful. The order of speaking tonight was determined by the candidates' positions on the ballot. So once they're sitting here, they will answer those questions in that order. We're beginning tonight with the county attorney race. These are the two candidates you see here. They'll be followed by the state rep for District 80 candidates. Next will come county commissioner candidates, constable, and then sheriff will be the final group of the evening. A total of 17 candidates accepted our invitation to attend, 16 or 17. To lay out the ground rules, each candidate will have 1 minute, an opening statement. Candidates will then have 90 seconds to respond to each question that I present to them. And they'll have 45 seconds for a rebuttal if one is called for. Our timekeepers are seated right here in front. They're going to raise a 15-second card, a 30-second first, and then a 15-second card for the candidates to be able to see how much time they have remaining. And then the final card will be stop. So we hope you will comply with those time limits. So with that, I think we'll ask our two candidates here to introduce themselves and we'll get on with the show.
Thank you. My name is Justin Walbert. I'd like to thank the COP. Is this your introduction or just my name you want?
You have your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Justin Walbert. I'd like to thank the college and the paper for putting on this debate, allowing for our community to have a better understanding of what it means to be the Uvalde County Attorney. About me, my wife and I were college sweethearts. We met 20 years ago at Central Michigan University. We met as members of the debate team and have been lovingly arguing with each other ever since. We wanted to start a family. There's no better place than Texas. It takes a village to raise our children, or kids, though, and so we came here to be closer to our. I'm sorry. It takes a village to raise our kids, and I'm blessed to have a 3-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, who are lovingly supported by their grandparents, Tom and Jill Nordwick. I want to be county attorney because we need representation that is invested in our community to make our community safer and stronger. I am invested in our community by raising my family here, who work and learn in our schools, being on the Child Welfare Board, actively volunteering, and having my church family here. I as CEO, I watched my father-in-law, Tom Nordwick, build our hospital and saw the change that's had in our community. And I want to enact that community-centered change to the Office of County Attorney. My mentor, Roy Munoz, has also shown me how the business of Uvalde is conducted, and I can effectuate the community-centered change that we have all been asking for.
Thank you. Mr. Dodson?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Dodson. I'm your county attorney currently. Thank you to the Leader-News and the Junior College for hosting this event and putting it on. A little bit about me. I'm a 5th-generation Uvalde County resident. Born and raised here, graduate of Sabinal High School, attended college at Texas A&M University and law school at South Texas College of Law in Houston. After that, I moved back here to start my legal career and raise a family here. I've been your county attorney for the last 22 years. During that time, I've seen a lot of changes during law enforcement and prosecution in this county. Had the opportunity to serve as president of the Texas and District County Attorneys Association and represented Uvalde County in that capacity as its president and chairman of the board. Really appreciate all of you in attendance here tonight and all of you joining us live stream. Thank you.
Thank you. This first question is for you, Mr. Dodson. You have previously said that you would not seek another term as county attorney. What changed your mind?
Several factors. I was approached by quite a few people actually asking me to reconsider. And so after much thought, prayer, and discussion with my wife and family as to what that would entail and the commitment that we have, that I would have to the community for another term, we decided that it was the right thing to do, was to seek another term, because there's some things unfinished that I'd like to do with one more term, expand the office, expand some services, focus more on certain areas of prosecution. And so I would like to do that. And frankly, I was honored to be asked by many of those folks to run again. And if they wouldn't have asked, I probably would have stayed with that commitment. So it made me really think what my commitment was to this community. And so that's why I changed my mind.
There's a follow-up question. There's been some controversy over where you live. Do you meet the residency requirements for the office?
Yes, I do, and I'm willing. I've signed all my paperwork. I'm willing to put my name on the line for that. So I am a resident of this county and have been since 1973 or 4, whenever my dad moved back here from law school. So even during the time I was away at college, I maintained my residency here and maintained my voting record here so I could vote in local elections, because I felt it was important to continue to be a member of this community and this county during that time as well. So I am a resident of this county.
Okay, this question is for all, so we're going to shift to you, Mr. Walbert, to answer first. Earlier this month, a Morales Junior High School student brought a handgun into the school. If elected as county attorney, what would your be recommendation for this individual? What charges would you recommend, or what rehabilitation is available?
I think the first part is understanding the source of the problem, and we have a mental health crisis in our community, and what this child, what they thought was acceptable to have a handgun brought to a school. Apparently, other students knew about it, and where was the reporting? I think the child has to help be held accountable, the prosecution to the law, as well as the parents, and also other people who knew about this, and did they feel comfortable coming forward to report it. In this community, we don't have and have never established mental health courts. And if I seek this office, I'd like to establish those mental health courts to reduce recidivism and foster better relationships with our school. So the students, the teachers, the local community can come forward and feel comfortable talking to their leaders about what's occurring and what is wrong. Part of that is being present in our community, being present at our meetings, at our school boards, and making sure this office reaches out to local police, to our school districts, to our teachers, to the UCISD police department, and to make sure that all these avenues are being tracked and taken extremely seriously. This has not happened at all, and that is why these problems persists. It is absolutely shocking that occurred. And for prosecution, I believe was your question, I would fully recommend prosecution to the extent the county office could do it, and also see if the Christina Mitchell Busby in the district and county office would pursue any charges as well as a higher level felony.
Same question to you, Mr. Dodson.
So I have to be, can you hear me? Can you hear me? There we go. I have to be careful with this, as this case is currently under investigation and prosecution. So I cannot comment on any of the facts revolving this case. Involving this case. However, I assure you that the case is being prosecuted to the fullest extent. It's unlawful carrying of a weapon in a school. And whether or not it's a felony or a misdemeanor, juvenile prosecution original jurisdiction lies solely with the county attorney's office. So I would not be seeking the district attorney's assistance in this matter, because it is the responsibility of the county attorney to prosecute the juvenile case. As to the root causes, yes, mental health is a huge concern and always has been, and that's something we've fought ever since I've been in law enforcement. Fortunately, the state dedicated quite a decent amount of money, but not enough, in this last legislature to fund mental health programs across the state. Hopefully some of that money will get to Uvalde County so that we can do a better job of addressing those issues. But I agree with Mr. Wolbert. It takes all of us working together in law enforcement and schools to identify these issues and address them before they become serious. Thank you.
There's another question for you, Mr. Dodson. During a January 24 Commissioners Court meeting, you said that your caseload has doubled in the past 3 years. In your opinion, what is causing the caseload to increase? Is the office behind in prosecuting cases?
Okay, the first part of that question, I think all of you would agree with me if you've been living in Uvalde for the last 3 to 4 years. You've probably noticed the increased presence of the Texas Department of Public Safety in our community. Wouldn't you all agree with me on that? That is the leading contributing factor, is these officers are making a lot more stops because they are tasked to do so in this county. So what happens when you almost double our law enforcement in the community, you're going to see a huge increase in misdemeanor crimes. Now, I know they're here to target the smuggling cases, but in the course of their duties, they are going to run across multiple misdemeanor offenses in the course of those stops. So that is what I attribute the increase to. As far as being behind, we had a backlog from 2020, the COVID year, and 2021 because, first of all, getting people to court was hard because we couldn't go to court. And we have been slowly working our way out of that. I'd say we are no further behind than we were before. We've caught up, and actually we're gaining on the backlog pre-COVID. So we've had a lot of help there to do so.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dodson, Mr. Walbert, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I think this the county attorney's office is backlogged. Part of it is because of high volume of cases and a lack of support, and you need to hire additional attorneys. I think the problems with COVID actually made our system of justice a lot more streamlined. Actually, we see Operation Lone Star cases that are now our online dockets. Instead of having just a single judge in Uvalde County where we sit, we're able to have judges appear electronically, and so we're able to have dockets on multiple days if we wanted to do so. The issue we have is that we're not currently prosecuting small drug-related cases and are behind the domestic abuse concerns. Part of this process to effectuate the change is reaching out with our community partners, other judges, even Operation Lone Star from the governor himself, and he'll provide funding for not only judges and additional court staff.
Thank you for that. That lines up our questions with you gentlemen. We appreciate your coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next group of candidates will be the District 80. In theory, it's the order you're on the ballot, but you guys are kind of all run together. Well, then just take a seat and we'll go down the line. Yep, pick your spot. So I'm going to ask each one of you to introduce yourselves and then you have a 1-minute opening. Yes.
Dr. Teresa Johnson Hernandez.
Is it a mic?
So sorry, I apologize
No.
for my voice.
Yep. Hold it close.
My name is Dr. Teresa.
Not
Is
on.
this working? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Oh, there you go. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Teresa Johnson Hernandez.
No, we want you to go ahead and give your opening statement. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize in advance for my voice. So I want to thank everyone here today, and especially coming from my family. So we're here, and I just want you to know I am a wife of 30 years with my husband. I am a mother, a grandmother as well, and most definitely I am committed to my family and the roles that pertain to that. But as an entrepreneur and a humanitarian scholar and a servant leader within our community, I strive on a daily basis within my community to provide continuous growth in the things that we are involved in. So I am an advocate. I'm an advocate for the first responders, quality, accessible health care, educators, veterans, and our senior citizens. I have witnessed their struggles on a daily basis on the type of services that we have been providing to our community for over 17 years.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Cecilia Castellano. I'm a third-generation Texan from Atascosa County. I'm a daughter of a veteran and an educator. I've been married for 24 years and have two beautiful boys, 24 and 14, that I have raised in Atascosa County. I've been blessed with 3 grandbabies, which they call me Glam or Auntie because can't be called Grandma yet, right? My family is my why I fight today. I believe my personal values plays an essential role in my public service. My faith and my family motivate me to work relentlessly to improve the lives of working families. I derive my inspiration from my faith to be a compassionate and effective leader. And I believe I have the knowledge and understanding to create positive change in House District 80. Thank you.
Test, test. Can you hear me? Does this one work? Good evening. I'm Carlos Lopez, candidate for Texas House of Representatives, District 80. I was born and raised right here in Uvalde County. I'm a son of an immigrant mother who came here at 12 years old to clean houses. My dad broke his back doing odd jobs, working the fields, working in water service, cotton gins, all the local jobs that you see here in the Uvalde County area. I'm a father of 3 beautiful children, a husband of 23 years to my wife. I served as a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. I was former Democratic chair here in Uvalde County, which means I serve the community. I do the slow burning work day in, day out, regardless if it's election season or not. I'm an educator at this very institution, which I love. I humbly ask for your support. Y adelante, District 80.
Good evening. Hello, can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Graciela Villarreal. I thank you all so much for having me tonight on this important debate. I am a proud servant of my community in Webb County, Laredo, Texas. I am a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a proud volunteer in my community. I am also the immigrant, not the mother, but the immigrant, U.S. citizen, now making every effort to serve all of you the way you all deserve. I am also a former district director for state representative in Webb County, District 42. I am asking you guys to allow me to keep on serving you the way you all deserve. I'm speaking to you from my heart. And that's it. I'm just here to do what you all deserve for me to do, to serve you the way you all deserve. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
I'm Don McLaughlin. I'm from Uvalde. Been here since 1962. I'm married 32 years this week. Have 2 two boys that are grown, both work for me. I've started a company here with my father in 2000, DKM Enterprises. With 4 people, today we have 100 plus employees. Reason I'm running for this seat, I care about this region, and I think it's important. And I think that most politicians nowadays have lost touch with the people that we're there to serve, and we don't listen and we don't hear. So that's the reason I'm running for this position, to go and be a voice for rural South Texas. So I'd appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to begin some questions now, and these are for all of you. So we're going to go back to the beginning of the rotation. Here's the question. So during the past legislative session, a Texas House panel okayed a bill raising the age to purchase a semi-automatic rifle. The bill ultimately died after missing a key deadline. Many Uvalde families advocated for this bill, spending hours at the state capitol. If elected, do you support a raise the age bill?
I strongly, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. So I strongly stand for my Constitution, and I believe that we have the right. However, when it comes to laws, that's why we have certain laws. And I believe when it comes to age, and I understand the sacrifices people make, right, to fight for their beliefs. But however, I personally feel that that age is appropriate to purchase a gun. It's the laws that we need to implement for safer for our community, and mandatory or better trainings and et cetera that pertain to educating the individual to making better decisions. And also mental, I think that's a big key component to that, is making sure that we screen these individuals to make sure that they are mentally able to make that purchase.
Thank you. Same question.
Repeat, please.
Okay. The legislature approved legislation, a bill, to raise the age to purchase a semi-automatic rifle from 18 to 21. The bill never got to the committee for a vote. Would you support that legislation if it came up again?
Absolutely, 110% I would support that. I also support, excuse me, can everyone hear me? I also support, first of all, nobody wants to be controlled, to be controlled. Everyone has a freedom to own guns. However, we need to increase the limit to what the federal law reads, which is age 21. So that should be reciprocated down to the state. And we need to go back to, well, not go back to, but I believe we need to have a comprehensive background check, national background check. We also need a better oversight on gun shows when purchasing guns. It shouldn't just be so loosely for anyone just to go buy a gun with cash and no background check. And let's go back to a license to carry with 2 training classes. So I have a full agenda of how we can ensure that we protect our younger generation, and it all goes back to mental health. That's the problem here. Thank you.
Thank you. When elected, my first priority was to immediately reintroduce that bill 1744 back into consideration. That's our top priority. The current state of politics here in the state of Texas it's completely ridiculous. You know, when I was a young recruit in the Marine Corps, the federal government would never hand me over an assault weapon without being properly trained. What we're advocating for is responsible gun ownership. If you really champion the Second Amendment, you want people who know how to operate, maintain basic safety rules. Right now, any person can go buy an assault weapon at that without being properly trained. If you really love the Second Amendment, you would champion these issues, because you don't want crazy people not knowing how to use these weapons of war. The NRA was originally founded as a gun safety organization. It's morphed to something entirely different. So advocate for responsible gun ownership, champion the Second Amendment, and you'll see a change in this. Remember, our children come first before anything.
I'm gonna applaud that one because he's actually right on point. As a proud former police officer's wife, weapons were usually all over our house, but with discipline, stored in a place that was safe for our son to be around. I definitely think the time has come when we need to take conscious of what's happening with our youngsters. And I'm gonna agree with Cecilia. All these have to do with mental instability. While we champion, and I am so pro of our Second Amendment and our right to have our arms, it is the time that we take a mature conscious, and decide if we want to keep seeing our grandchildren in our home at the end of the day. And we have to take a stand and make the right movement that we need to do in order to keep seeing our family together in our holidays, in our Christmas, and so on. So I'm definitely encouraging you all to participate, to call your senators, your congressmen, your state representatives, and champion towards the need to raise awareness and to raise the age limit in which people are entitled to own a weapon. Thank you.
First of all, if we're going to address the gun problem, we've got to address some other issues. When you go see a Hollywood movie today, when they glorify people just murdering people over and over and over. Secondly, we have video games now that take our kids, and that's all they do. They teach them to shoot people and kill, and you get points and go to the next level. Those are problems that we've got to address. Then we've got to address the mental health problem. Mental health is true. Look, I'm willing to sit down and have a conversation with anybody, any table on gun control. But without addressing these issues, changing the law is not going to change. It's not going to stop the problem until we address the root problem. And as long as we make it affordable in society to have these things, we've got to address that first. Then we can sit down and have a conversation on the other.
We're going to start over down here with a new question. Immigration has been called a crisis on our border. If elected, what steps would you pursue to solve the problem?
Well, I believe that we're founded through immigration. However, I think it's important that we remember that safety needs to come before any table, any topic on the table when it comes to guns or immigration or anything like that. I feel that I would most definitely be for making sure that we implement clear laws to protect not only the safety of the individuals within our country, but also the individuals that are coming in, to make sure that we screen them properly, to make sure that the individuals that are coming in are going to come in to become self-productive within our society. I do not believe in just allowing them to come in and not continue that process of tracking and making sure that they're being productive and that they're not causing any type of issues that we are facing today. That we see it on a daily basis, not only coming in from Eagle Pass, but me from Webb County, we see it. So I believe that safety and implementing the laws for protection and safety of our citizens is on the top of my concern.
Thank you. Same question.
Well, first and foremost, us taxpayers deserve a real solution. It's time for a solution and stop talking about it. Second of all, the borders it's been an issue for a very long time. It's now just being, I guess, in the spotlight. But let's really look back at the fact that who is holding office right now? It's our Republicans that are holding office right now. And so I believe that immigration is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. All the issues and questions that have been asked this evening are a bipartisan issue. It's time for us to come up with a real solution and stop talking about it. So this Operation Lone Star, let's take it back to our schools. The dollars that are being paid by Governor Greg Abbott should be directed to our schools. Okay. And I understand the question, but we need to invest in our children, and we need to have a proper way of access into the United States. I've talked to many farmers and ranchers that say, you know what, we need the help here. So there should be a proper way of these immigrants coming through where we can track them and we can put them to work. Not all immigrants are coming in to do harm. Just like everyone, there are bad people in every crowd and there are good people in every crowd. So let's work together. This is a bipartisan issue, and let's bring a real solution to the table.
Well, I'm a product of immigration. My mom came over here at 12 years old, so I champion the immigrant heart. They assimilate in this country. The American experiment does something very special to immigrants. They become functioning members of our society. But right now, what we have, let's tell the truth, is politics. Because if people really wanted to solve this issue, we would sit down and actually have immigration reform. Both the left and the right would be adults and sit down and talk about this issue. But let's not kid ourselves. The politicians in Washington love the red meat. They love to create the fear factors, especially in this state. They love to create the fear factor that pits us against each other. We're treating people, human beings, substandardly. You had Governor Abbott say the other day, if it wasn't for the Biden administration prosecuting the state, shooting them would be an option. I know you guys heard this. When did we get to this point where people of color are treated in such a manner? Remember, America's a melting pot. Sit down and talk about it. Let's really sit down and talk about the issues and how we can come to a conclusion, because we need it. We need the workers. We need the growth. We need the stimulation and culture. These are things that make America beautiful. Don't use the fear factor to drive a wedge among us.
I'm going to second that one. As an immigrant and a proud servant of my community, I got to say that not all immigrants are bad. Some of us strive to serve. My father, a U.S. citizen, instilled in me servitude. He was like, we don't come here to take, mijita. We come here to give. We come here to be part of the solution. We come here to help this country grow and become a better place for all. Now, let's focus on something that's happening. And I'm going to agree with my partner here. We are making this very political. It is between Democrats and Republicans. We need to finally start focusing on the needs that we have at home. Because how can we help our neighbor when we have so many unsolved problems at home? And I'm talking to you about Medicaid. We have right now special children with special ed needs on a long waiting list. I bet you all don't know this, called the Star Kids program. And if you go and Google and research, there's tons and tons and tons of children right now waiting to get their benefits. I'm talking to you all about U.S. citizens on a waiting list that cannot access their Medicaid benefits because for whatever reason, we have a surplus of billions of dollars on standby that we can be using for our people at home. But let's not forget to be compassionate with our neighbors as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, we do have a crisis on our southern border. Nobody talked about the one thing up here. 333 known people on the terrorist watch list have been caught crossing the border. That's the ones we know about. Look, I'm not anti-immigration at all. There's a right way to come across the border and there's a wrong way to come across the border. The only person that is enriching themselves right now is the cartels that are charging every one of these people that cross that border. They're paying a fee to come across. They're not coming across freely, they're paying. And look, right now, the average citizen in the United States, Social Security income is $1,499. The average subsidy for the immigrant family in the United States right now from the federal government is $2,350. We don't take care of our homeless right now. We don't take care of our veterans. And we're opening our deal to 7-8 million people that we don't even take care. And then we hear our Democrat partners in Congress talk about, well, these people, we need them to work on our farm and we need them to work in our hotels and our restaurants. Well, hell, they're all breaking the law then because we can't work them. The piece of paper they're giving over here says you cannot work or you will be deported. So what are we doing? We're driving these people to a slave labor deal. So the United States is just as bad as anybody is being a human trafficker right now.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask for some seconds, and that is actually true what he's saying. But we have to understand right now the immigration reform is not being fair. We are championing for Venezuelans, Colombians, Cubans to come all over here, and we understand that they all are escaping from calamities in their countries, but all of immigrants that are coming to this country are escaping for some type of calamity in their country. So let's be fair with the immigration reform, and unless we don't figure out a way to put this in order, we need to slow it down a little bit.
Go ahead.
Something interesting that occurred within the last 2 weeks. The U.S. Senate passed a bipartisan bill for immigration reform. It went to the House. Speaker Johnson, from pressure from President Trump, said, you better not introduce this bill to the House. We don't need people solving immigration right now. It goes against our politics. I just want to throw that out there. These are the issues that we're talking about. Sit down, talk. Let's talk actual immigration reform. But the recent issues that you just seen right now in the House and the Senate is a prime example of Washington politicians caring more about their power and their position than trying to solve the problem. Let's get real here.
I agree that Senate needs to do some things, but that bill never did pass the Senate. It never came to the Senate floor for a vote.
I have a statement to say. This is exactly what I'm talking about, is that we need to make sure that politics stay off the table. It's not about being Republican. It's not about being Democrat. People want real solutions. And so this is imperative that we all take a look at what's going on, and let's start working for the people, and let's start bringing real solutions to our people. This is why I'm running, because I'm tired of the fighting. I'm tired of the bickering. We need solutions, and we need solutions now. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to another question, which is for all of you, and we'll start again at the beginning. Cost of living increases for retired teachers is an important topic in this community for many. If elected, how would you work to ensure retired teachers are not waiting decades for a cost of living increase?
Well, as I sit here and I listen how we go back and forth and we discuss immigration and laws and we come out to education, it's interesting to find that we have issues across the table. And I think what we're lacking to understand is the understanding that we need to provide solutions, whether it's immigration or guns. And now we come into education. We're expecting our educators to come in every day and teach and go home to be able to barely be able to pay their bills because the amount of income that we're giving them, their salaries are just, it's unbearable. So I believe as an educator and as a person of high, being that I'm for education, we need to take care of our educators. We need to make sure that their salaries are where they need to be so that they can be able to provide not only in their home, but be able to come to work and be able to be self-efficient for our students, because that's where it belongs, everyone. It belongs there where we understand that the foundation to everything in our country is education. We can sit here and talk about guns, we can talk about immigration, and we can go back and forth and blame the parties. But what are we doing? We need to educate the people and understand that we have to have a voice of one of unity and loyalty and understanding that we, the people, are based on a constitution that was formed through immigration or whatever belief you may have. But we have to be able to sit and talk and make decisions.
Thank you. Same question.
As I have been driving around House District 80 and talking to our school board trustees, superintendents, I've had to sit and see the superintendents and administrative staff tear up. Some of them cry pretty bad, saying, if we don't get more money, then I'm afraid that our school district may close. Where will our children go? What will we do? As I drive out through House District 80, we've had 2 schools that have been shut down already in small towns. Towns where Mothers have raised their children. Children are now raising their children, but there's no school. Family and friends of House District 80, it's time for us to bring real solutions to our retired teachers, real solutions to our teachers, for our classrooms. Our children, my children, are not a pawn for the government. I expect your children and my children to have a fair and equal education. I expect our veterans to have a fair and equal opportunity to be serviced throughout Texas and House District 80. There's a lot of problems here on the table. But once again, as I drive out through House District 80, I hear from our veterans, our doctors, our nurses, our teachers, and our retired teachers. Help. We need help and we need solutions. And so my solution will be that I will fight for every teacher, every veteran, every child in House District 80 to make Texas better. Thank you.
Well, for the last 30 years, look at the issues that we're talking about. Teachers' retirement, funding education systems, women's rights. How has the Republican Party improved your life? How has it done it in the last 30 years? People are barely making it nowadays. Corporations have run amok. You know, I'm a small business owner, but I'm not a large pharmaceutical company. I always tell people, calculate how much you pay in rent, electricity, your phone bill, your car, your insurance, yada, yada, yada. How much do you have left at the end of the day? And imagine if you're a retiree that now is on a limited income. It's a disgrace what's happening here. You work your entire lives to barely make it. I've run into elderly people who have $30, $40 left after their Social Security check has been extinguished for rent. This is what we've come to in this state? No, sir, no, ma'am. We need to champion educators, retirees, everyday people who retire. These are your golden years. You should be living in a sense of comfort, not having to worry where your next meal is going to come from, if you're going to have enough money because Medicare doesn't cover. These are real issues. We pay our taxes, but it seems that we continue to pay while the rich get away without contributing their fair share. Let's not live like this. We're Texans. Parents, kids, elderly, those are the things that we need to champion. Those are the things that are important. Thank you.
Thank you.
What happens is that we have no applause. That's part of our contract, right? It's unwritten. Thank you.
No plus. Okay. Well, I already told you that I was former district director for State Representative Richard Raymond back in Webb County in District 42. So when I decided to run and with, given the opportunity to serve you better, this came to be because of one of my constituents. We were having so many issues with her daughter, struggling with Medicaid for Star Kids. That's why I was telling you about that one. Also, our teachers. What happened that after I had to leave my job as district director, I went back to the teaching. So I'm a substitute teacher at the moment. I am proud to say that I do see the struggles of our teachers. I do say, especially the teachers that manages our little ones deserve, a high increase rate, because you're supposed to see how much effort they put into raising our children, not only giving them the proper education that they deserve. So when it is the time for our teachers to retire, we want to make sure we give them a proper COLA adjustment, which is the cost of living adjustment, in which they retire in a proper and honest way, in which they have enough for their groceries, their utilities, their mortgage, and everything as honorable as they deserve, because they already gave us so much of their lives. So yeah, I definitely champion for our teachers and for an increase in their COLA adjustment. Thank you.
Well, on the COLA adjustment, that should be done yearly. It should be a law passed and they get their raise yearly. They shouldn't wait 10 years, 12 years to get that raise. It should come yearly. Secondly, we're talking about teachers up here. Those are teaching us tomorrow. They're the most underpaid profession we have. They have the most responsibility. They're with our kids more than most parents are with their kids 8 hours a day. And that we need to pay our teachers a fair living wage, and whether that's 50,000 or 100,000, we need to come up with a solution for that in the state and find that and make sure our teachers are taken care of so that they can teach our kids and not worry about making a living.
We had a comment here on here.
I just want to reiterate something really quick. We're talking about our educators, and I think we can all agree that it goes across the table because we're talking about educators that give their whole life to their career to make sure that our foundation is strong. But we also have to remember they're not the only ones getting underpaid here. You have individuals like, our veterans that sacrifice their whole life to go and represent our country, and they're coming back and they're still not making it. So I believe that there's a couple of factors, not only our educators, but our first aid responders and our elderly. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things I see on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the last question for you guys this evening. So, abused, unwanted, and stray animals present a public health issue. Studies show that animal cruelty is associated with domestic violence, abuse, and has been linked even to school shootings. If elected, what efforts would you take to address this persistent problem in our region? How would you, or do you support funding this issue?
I believe that they're important just as us as human beings. I think animals are a big part of our lives, and I can sit here and speak to you that I have family members and very close friends that have animals because it's a coping mechanism for mental, whether it's depression or individuals who are military, retired, who have these types of services for them. So I believe that it's a huge factor, and we need to be very responsive to that to make sure that they're taken care of, just like we as a human being. Anybody that is being abused or neglected, most definitely, I believe that they need to have that care and that help. But if we go back to mental health, I think that's a big factor in a lot of the issues that we're struggling with today. We need to be open to the different types of means and possibly counseling, and not only within our schools, but also, outreaches for our communities, being more aware of these different types of factors. So most definitely, I feel that they are just as important as a human being because they can actually save a life. And I'm a witness to that. I've seen that. Thank you.
Repeat, please.
So, abused, unwanted, and stray animals present a public health issue. Studies show that animal cruelty is associated with domestic violence, abuse, and has been linked to even to school shootings. If elected, what efforts would you take to address this persistent problem in our region? And how would you, or do you support funding for this?
Well, there's also a lot of loose chickens and roosters throughout House District 80. I believe that we definitely need to have a solution to where we provide shelters for the stray animals, as well as all these loose chickens. The story behind all the loose chickens is that the man died, and the children did not want to take care of those chickens, so they just let them go. So now the entire neighborhood is infested with chickens. And here in Uvalde, there's a peacock issue. Okay, so I saw a whole street full of peacocks. So, yes. Also regarding out in House District 80, I've seen a lot of dilapidated houses with tons of dogs and cats. So I believe that, I mean, that's like, it's there, it's out in the open, but yet no one's doing anything about it. So most definitely, I believe that we need to have control over houses that are falling apart, burn homes that are just there, pile trash, and dogs and cats that are just in one place. And so I'm a mom of two dogs. I'm a fur mom, and so I do understand that our dogs play a very special role in many lives. And so I'm a big animal lover, and I will support and sponsor any type of animal control and to put them in good homes. Thank you. And the chickens and roosters.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. I think here in Uvalde, we only have one animal control officer, if I'm not mistaken. Two, but very limited in resources. Correct. There's nothing like driving home and at my house, a big German Shepherd comes up and loves you unconditionally. You know, these are good things to do. But yeah, I think providing more resources in regards to controlling the pet population, shelters for pets, you know, these are all great things. Having events. I know we used to have, well, I think we still do Bark in the Park out here. These are things that get the community involved, make it fun, you know, to be around pets, you know, show the love, eliminate the depression. But absolutely, I think the state can play a role in that in funding some of these much needed resources that are needed. But hey, I'm all about animals. They make me happy.
Okay, so the three important rules, it is adopt, volunteer, and donate. Donate to your shelters, to your animal shelters. Actually, back in Laredo, I created a foundation called Lulac La Flor, and we actually, what we do in our free time, we go and volunteer at the animal shelters. I actually adopted 2 dogs and 1 cat. So my babies, because my son, he's already full grown. So actually that's my message to you all. Don't buy, adopt. They're actually pretty cute and pretty nice, and you know, they make the bestest of friends. And actually also, yes, we need to create a proper funding for our shelters, in which, you know, whenever you go back in Laredo, what we have events. So when we invite the people, they go and they choose whichever furry friend they want to take home, and actually the shelter already provides with all vaccinations and all, you know, medical needs that the furry friends need. So it is very important to keep on thinking of that solution. It's going to be adopt, volunteer, and donate to keep progressing in this issue. Thank you.
Well, you know, as mayor in Uvalde, we worked with the Humane Side, which is now Bark. You are building a new facility there to help this problem. We do have 2 animal control officers. They don't have all the resources they need because we don't have the funding for it. And a lot of times we get unfunded mandates from the state that tell us what we can do and what we can't do with our dogs, and we all need to get on the same page and come up with a solution that works. And we need to educate more on spading and neutering pets so that people know it. And you know, we've taken classes out of so many things, you know, pet class, something, responsibility. I mean, like they said earlier, kids don't take responsibility. I had to. We raised pigs. I cleaned the pig pens more than they did. But, you know, they need to take responsibility if they're going to take that dog. And, you know, dogs are part of our, and cats, and that are a part of our society. And we need to figure out a solution that works. You know, that's a funding deal that I can tell you as the mayor, we fought all the time. Where are we going to get the money to cover it? Without the Humane Society and the volunteers of that group, we wouldn't be able to do what we were able to do. Well, if we can get it to start, but. Okay, well, I mean, hopefully we can, but I mean, like I said, we need to do a better job of educating and making people aware.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's the end of our questioning, and now you can applaud. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Craig, yeah. Thank you for coming. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Hey, absolutely.
Rotate on who goes first.
Okay.
If the last person in the row
Okay.
has
I
all
started to
time
do
to
that
think.
last time. And I did. Yeah. It was good. I'll do it. Yep.
We need to say that J.R. Ramirez wasn't here because he had another event.
Okay.
He asked that we say that that's why he didn't
I
show
can
up.
do that.
And then Powell and Cuellar didn't reply to us, like, so I don't know if we need to acknowledge their absence.
Please announce that Johnny Field. Yes,
ready to participate, but something came up.
what came up?
Yeah, there was concern.
Huh?
There was just, I don't know. That's all I thought. I don't know
Okay,
what the concern was.
okay, thank you.
But there's
But
some thought.
so we just say they had other concerns?
No, just that they were, something came up, they were unable to participate, however you want to phrase it.
We're here, but they chose to,
But something came up.
something came up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we can say that they were here for the candidate briefing, but they left before their,
For the main event?
yeah. Because
think so.
if we don't have a reason, like you can't, like
Yeah,
that's why I asked
right.
with Ramirez, like where his event was. Like you need to have a little bit of meat behind
Yeah,
that reasoning.
so you told me again that, okay, these guys,
J.R. Ramirez was in Laredo. That's why he couldn't be here. And then Powell and Cuellar also weren't here. But
so do I need to announce that about JR?
yeah, we can put it in the story.
Yeah, I think so.
Any particular order? Any particular order?
We're saying it's not fair that you start on the same spot.
I know, I'm gonna
because-
change that. I'm gonna go,
Because
I'm gonna
it
reverse.
puts them on, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I just got that tip, so we will do that.
The party's over, half the people just let them.
Huh?
Said the party's over, half the people just let them. That's what I heard.
We'll do our best with what we have. How about that?
We can't do ballot order if we got two different ballots.
Just sit down wherever you want.
You know all of us well enough.
Was one of those to do the questions in reverse?
Yes.
I thought Craig was gonna.
Yeah, did y'all decide that too?
You think so?
I think so.
What was the question?
No, we're
No, we just made a decision. We just made an executive decision. Is that okay?
This bodes well for the future, I guess. What do you want me to do here? Seems I've got a hot mic, so just ignore all that.
Be careful of the hot mic.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to begin with the commissioners now. And we're going to start with Mr. Kothman's going to introduce himself and then give a 1-minute opening remark or remarks.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Garnett. I thank the Leader-News and Southwest Texas Junior College for hosting this. My name is Roy Kothman. I am a candidate for the Commissioner 3, Precinct 3 position. That position is open. There is not an incumbent running. And so I have stated my intentions to run for County Commissioner Precinct 3. As I said, my name's Roy Kothman. I'm a native of Uvalde and went to school here in Uvalde, went to Texas A&M University, moved back here, and went to work in the banking business. Been in the banking business for a little over 40 years here. Have a wife. We've raised 3 kids. We have 3 generations, actually, I guess, that would be considered residents of Uvalde County. I'm proud of that. And I'll get into that. That's part of my reason for being here tonight, is that in my banking career, the 40 years.
Mr. Kothman, we're going to have to ask you to.
Oh, I could keep talking, you know.
I
Okay.
know, that's why I know.
You know that. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are you? Welcome, everyone. My name is John Yakel. Probably most people knew me as the Chicken Man for most of my years here as the former owner of the Golden Chick from 96 to 21. Full disclosure, I don't own it if you've had an issue in the last few years. My wife and I, my wife is Uvalde native that I married into Uvalde. I'm from Del Rio, just down the road. We opened up our business in 1996. I met my wife in 98. We've raised 5 children here in Uvalde, 5 girls, no less. That's why all the gray hair. I'm just happy to have some. I am your current precinct commissioner for Precinct 1. I was fortunate enough to be blessed with the opportunity to be your representative this last 4 years, and looking forward for the opportunity to serve you another 4.
Good evening, folks. Is this working?
My name is Bill Dozier. I am a candidate for County Commissioner Precinct 1. I have been in business here. I'm a real estate broker by trade. I have been a real estate broker for 45 plus years. Before that, I was in business with my dad in the office supply business. And before that, I was in high school and worked in every gas station in Uvalde. So I've been employed here forever, you might say. I am looking to take this job. Would like to get this job. I ran for it before. I'm asking for your vote in Precinct 1. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to our first question. The community remains divided in the aftermath of the May 24 tragedy. What do you think your role is in bridging the divide? We'll start with you. Start with you, Mr. Cook.
As a county commissioner, my role, I think, is to just get along, listen to people's concerns, be fair to people, be honest, be transparent, and just work the issues out. We don't need to sidestep any issues. We need to hit them head on, but we need to be fair and be sensitive to all the people's needs in this county.
I think for me, having unfortunately been there during this period of time as a current commissioner, it's an unusually difficult circumstance for commissioners because unlike the city and the school district, we don't have direct supervision over the staff or any of the circumstances of that day, nor are we privy to any insight that you as a regular citizen have. We've had no updates or read-ins or hearings or reviews on anything that's happened that isn't public information. And so I think it's important for us to just be as transparent, accessible, and open to hear your thoughts and your issues. And I think it's important for people to keep as open mind as possible until we do have resolution, because at this point, we still don't. Let's be honest. Like, even with the reports that have come out, we still don't have, until the criminal investigation is complete and there is or isn't charges, there is no way for families to have the opportunity to grieve or to process anything until we reach that point. I don't have any clue on what the holdup is. Don't pretend to have any insight or knowledge to that effect. But I think we should, I'm going to take a ledge out here. It'll be popular or unpopular as it may be, but I've always had a reputation of being direct and outspoken. For me, the blame applies to those individuals in charge of their organizations on the ground that day. The accountability for those actions ends with the leader. When you run an organization, whether it's a business or a government entity, you as that individual, the buck stops with you. Now, whether it's criminal prosecution, I'm sorry, this is not going to be popular, but anyone who's telling you there's going to be a successful criminal prosecution is lying to you. You're not going to prove criminal intent, or you're not going to prove gross negligence, which requires intent as a part of it.
John.
Civil litigation is the only path.
You're in the same boat as Mr. Cothman. Pass it, Mr. Dozier.
My thoughts on it are, we've gone through a bad situation for the shooting. It affected everybody in this county, and it will be with us forever. My thoughts on it is that since running for county commissioner, from what I understand, and I'm not there yet, so I don't know all the rules of how it works, we need to make Uvalde great again. And that's my thoughts on running for this position. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the second question has to do with attendance in Commissioners Court. There have been issues in the past with commissioners who simply didn't show up. How would you propose to address that? And do you think it's fair that they continue to get $29,000 a year if they're not present? We'll start with you, Mr. Dozier.
I have, in my ads that are going to come out, if I get this post, I will be a full-time commissioner. We have not had a full-time commissioner in this county in over 40 years. I'm a real estate broker, as I said earlier. I'm in the farm and ranch part of the real estate profession. I have a lot of free time, and I will give it to this county. And as far as coming to the meetings, unless I'm dead, I will be at the meetings. And I will call you back, I promise. Being in the real estate profession, there's nothing worse than having somebody won't call you back. I'm of the opinion, I don't care if you call me back and tell me to go jump in the damn river, at least call me back. And I promise to call you back, and I will address your problems immediately. If I can get to them, I will get to them. If I can't get to them, I will stay in touch with you, and you will not be left in the dark. I promise you that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that's important to be at as many meetings as you can. There are going to be occasions. So as an example, the meeting we had just this week, I was in San Antonio working with Jane Macon, who's a larger-than-life character, a partner in a law firm in San Antonio, a big wheel in the nonprofit world, working on something specific to here in Uvalde that relates to actually an evacuation system that's been proffered and offered through a new corporation that's a startup, and they're looking to basically provide this opportunity to our school district at no cost. And I've been chasing that down now for nearly a year, and we're now to crunch time, where it's a very real possibility in the very near future that this system at no cost to the district may be offered. And so, call me crazy, I felt like that opportunity to meet individuals that can make this happen was a key component. Now, I will say that, you know, I have been a consistent participant, and even when I'm out, I'm there on Zoom participating in 99% of those occasions. Now, it's a fair question because my predecessor, who was there for many years and did a great job, the last year and a half in office, there were some issues on consistency in being there. And I don't know any of the particulars of why or when, but at the end of the day, the voters are the relevant party that chooses whether or not you deserve to return.
Mr. Cothman, same question. So I think when you sign up for an office like that, you attend the meetings. I'm on boards, I attend the meetings. I do know there's some things that will come up, but I think that they need to be addressed with the body that you sit on, the board you sit on. And so, yes, I think you need to attend the meetings. As far as what do you do, I think there's laws, there's rules to handle that with the people that don't attend the meetings. And then we live in a civil society, and we need to take steps, the proper steps, to if you're not going to be at meetings, then there's rules in place to do that. But yes, I believe in being at a meeting.
Okay, thank you. The next question has to do with meeting times. The public has raised the issue of the courts meeting in the day, 10 a.m. in the morning, when many people, most of us are at work, I guess. So the thought was to move it to the evenings, as is done with other entities like the city and the school board. How would you address that? This is for Mr. Dozier to start.
I'm open, it doesn't matter. Self-employed, I can be there at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I can be there at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So whatever the voters want and whatever the Commissioner's Court decides is fine with me.
So for me, it's easy. I'm already on the record as being in favor and was one of two commissioners who were unsuccessful in getting the time moved to the evening, because I agree, if you're a person who works for a living, as most of us do, it's difficult to have to take off from your job to attend a public meeting. It's not really that big of a burden, I don't think, on elected officials, like every other elected body in our community, to show up and have an evening meeting that makes it easier for the community to give their 2 cents on what we're doing.
I don't disagree with what these gentlemen say. But that being said, I would like to hear the pros and cons on, it has been at 10 o'clock for I don't know how many years, and so if there's advantages to that, I'm willing to listen to that and weigh out those options. And so I'm not on Commissioner's Court right now, so I don't want to set their schedule for them without being on there, but I think it has a lot of merit for changing the time for people.
Okay, thank you. This question was asked of the District 80 candidates, and I'm going to repurpose it for you guys. It has to do with abused, unwanted, and stray animals are a problem in our county. The county has no particular budget, I think, for stray animals, or no facility. How would you address that if you're elected or re-elected to the court? Mr. Cothman?
It's a good question, and I don't know if we can work out that assuming I get on the Commissioner's Court, the county court can work out something with the existing facilities. I think that's a little problematic when we talk about the county, because the county encompasses Utopia. It encompasses Sabinal, Canepa. I don't know how we handle transporting a stray dog in Utopia to Uvalde. So I think if it's a county-wide problem, we need a county-wide solution, and there probably needs to be some money budgeted towards curing the problem. And so, yes, there needs to be a solution. It's not just a city problem, it's probably a county problem, but the county problem encompasses many municipalities. Some of them are incorporated, some of them aren't. That makes it problematic. So does Sabinal have more of a responsibility than Canepa because they have taxation? I don't know. That one requires a little bit of studying.
Okay, so I have a little bit of firsthand experience. I haven't been on the court. So Judge Kimball has been fantastic in leading the fundraising efforts to create our new shelter. And it sounds like they're nearing the end on the project to be able to come up with the money. It's a complicated issue because the county does not have the benefit of the city. The city has home rule. So they have the ability to make their own ordinances, their own laws. The county, we don't get to make ordinances or statutes. We have to abide by statutes provided by the legislature. The legislature makes laws, we enforce those laws. And so it becomes a trickier animal for us. We can't just create a rule in the county and implement it at our own request. It has to go through the legislature. There are some small examples of things that have been done as one-offs in the past. I think that what we're most likely inclined to do is what we've started now, which is we're already talking about reserving space and committing dollars to the new facility that would be used on a need basis. And that was the suggestion that was made by Judge Kimball. And then just one thing that I did individually is each commissioner, when all the federal ARPA money that came down, we split up between the commissioners, and each commissioner had, gosh, let me think. I want to say it was 45. No, I'm sorry. We split 300,000 four ways between each commissioner that they could decide how they wanted to allocate those dollars. And so I split mine between the Herbie Ham Center, the library, and the animal shelter.
Thank you.
That's going to be a hard question to answer. I understand where Mr. Yackel is because he is currently on the Commissioner's Court. But where I live, I'm in the county. Across the street is in the city. So there's stray dogs and cats everywhere. But the city cannot come on my street because I'm in the county, even though I'm only 15 feet into the county. So it's a hard question to answer, but something needs to be done about the stray animals. So getting elected to this office, I will be able to see what needs to be done and then take the appropriate action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes your questioning. And now the audience can give applause if they are so inclined. Thank you.
Y'all did well, guys, I have to say. You did well. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, John.
Good to see you, sir.
Okay. The other two did. No, no, sorry. No, please, please.
Stay in the audience.
No, as long as you don't throw anything. What does that leave us with? He left too. Did we all leave together? Good. Okay.
Get the three.
Bring them in.
sit at?
These guys could just sit in these first three chairs would be good. Yeah.
Testing, test. Test, test.
So we're going to work. Thank you. We're going to introduce our constable candidates momentarily. We had three other candidates in the green room, and they left. Max Dorflinger, Manuel Zamora, and Johnny Field were called away. So what we're going to do is give you a minute to introduce yourselves. That's unclear.
Test, test.
Robert, you first. You're first. Introduce yourself, and you have 1
Hello.
minute.
How are you? My name is Robert Moss. I'm running for Constable of Precinct 6. I'm the former constable of 20 years, so I know what my job is. I'd like to give my condolences to all the Rob School families out here. I also work here at the college, about 22 years. And I had one son who just became a grandpa 7 months ago. And how much time do I have? What else? I can't think of it. Well, I guess that's about it.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Okay, my name's Paul Wayne Moss Jr. I go by Wayne. I'm running for Constable Precinct 1. I am currently a police captain in Von Army, South San Antonio on 35. I also work in the weekends in Austin. I'm a security supervisor and team lead, and I've been doing that since 2016. I was teaching law enforcement since 1996. I also at this time would like to give my condolences and sympathy to the Rob families and survivors. I attended a few of the funerals. I was helping with the other officers from out of town, and I didn't get to give condolences to everybody, even the funerals I did attend, like Lupa and Gilda Lopez. I've known him since I was a little boy. I was able to give his son and his daughters, but I didn't get to give everybody, so this time I'd like to do that. I have a daughter and 3 grandkids, and because of that is one of the reasons I'm running. Thank you. I appreciate your vote and support.
My name is Hank Dickey. I live in Canepa. I'm running for Constable Precinct 2. I currently work for Kinney County as a sheriff deputy over there. I do patrol at the moment. My family is raised in Uvalde County. I have a son and a daughter and a grandson. I plan to be more active in the communities, proactive in the schools, and look forward to serving my communities, whether it's in Canepa or Sabinal.
Thank you. This is the first question. Do you agree with the Department of Justice report that the failure at Rob was due to a failure in leadership of law enforcement? Why do you think it happened? That'll be for you first, Robert.
I say yes, but I'm here to debate my other opponent, but he didn't show up, so I'm not going to say anything else about that.
Wayne.
I would say for an officer I've been an officer for over 31 years, and like I said, I work out of Uvalde, and we've got a lot of criticism. And, you know, I try to defend Uvalde and say, you know, people are related to these officers, and it's a small community, but there is no excuse for what happened that day, okay? All my officers where I work at, in Austin, everywhere I go, everybody knows what happened. It's not debatable anymore. The DOJ made it very clear. It was a failure in every form and fashion. If I was there that day, I would have turned in my badge and never showed my face in this town again. That's how bad that was. Okay? That would be exactly what I would have done. I was in New Braunfels. I was sending UPS to Father Ken's family. And that lady asked me, is that a costume or is that real? I was wearing my Von Army police officer uniform. And I told her, I assure you, it's a real uniform. I've been an officer for over 30 years. And then she goes, oh, I saw your ID from Uvalde. I'm like, oh, okay. Now I know where this is going. I told her I wasn't there, but I wish I was, because it wouldn't have taken 77 minutes. I might not be talking to you today, but I guarantee you things would have been taken care of. And I might not be here, like I said, but it would not have taken 77 minutes, I promise.
Responsibility starts from the top down. You're taught from the beginning, stop the threat. It's as simple as that. Go stop the threat. So do I believe and understand the DOJ report? Yes. And they're correct.
Were you there?
No.
So if you're elected and you're aware of the divide in the community that's come about since Rob, what would you do to help restore the trust in law enforcement? We'll start with you, Mr. Dickey.
Community involvement. I've been involved in community in Uvalde. I own a small business here. I've done businesses with schools. I've done businesses with local governments and things like that, involved with the community, and that's where it starts. Is, am I going to build trust overnight? No. Am I going to prove myself? That's what I look to do, is proving myself. I'm not every Joe peace officer out there. I handle my business differently, and it's listening and understanding.
The one thing I want to do is bring my nonprofit here. And the mission statement is that to bring the great outdoors to everyone through hunting, fishing, and playing sports. I've coached my whole life. I've hunted and fished my whole life. Anybody that really knows me, you've either gone hunting or fishing with me, or I've given you some meat or fish through the years. And that has always brought joy to me and brought the community together. I've coached from Little League, Senior League, all the way to high school level. So I want to bring that in sports and helps the kids with their, with their confidence in life. So I think that would be a way to bring the community together. And if I do win, I want to give $25,000 of my income of the constable, because I'm not doing it for the money. I could have retired last January 2023 with TRS, and that's not the reason I'm running. It's about bringing the community together. It's about healing. It's about listening to people, because until you're in someone's shoes, you're never going to know how they feel. And I think that's what we forget. We got our opinions, we got our thoughts, but take a step back and put yourself in someone's shoes, and then you'll understand where they're coming from. I guess my time's up.
I know it's going to be hard to heal the community because we're divided. And all I know is I'm here to serve and protect. And I feel like the only way we're going to heal this community is if we vote out these guys. That's about all I have to say. If I say anything else, I might get kicked out of here.
That's not happening. So here's another question, and this will start with you, Robert. In your opinion, what is the role of law enforcement in addressing troubled youth? What mechanisms as a constable can you use to help a family with a child who's continually in trouble?
Well, you know, constables, hello. Constables are elected officials and they serve the papers of the precinct 6 JP and we don't deal with juveniles, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, going back to my nonprofit, you know, that's how you get these kids from being in trouble into something positive. As a teacher, as a criminal justice teacher, I would have competitions. And every single time I had a competition, whether it was one of my students or another student from out of town, because we'd have a regional competition with schools all over, from Del Rio to San Antonio to Laredo, everywhere. And there was always a student that would come with tears in their eyes saying they never won anything in their life. And that was always really hard to understand. I guess, you know, I've been blessed. You know, God gave me athletic talents, and I've always played, and we've been successful even, you know, going into adulthood, playing in softball tournaments, men's softball and so forth. But for somebody that's already in high school to say they never won anything in their whole life, that's amazing how that could happen. Obviously, nobody gave that, you know, child any attention or put them somewhere where they could have been successful and get that confidence. And that's what I want to do with that nonprofit, you know, getting kids to be able to do stuff that they want to maybe have the opportunities to go out of town, get outside of reality, see the rest of the world, where they can be exposed to different people in different places and see there's more out there than just what we have, you know, here. But as a constable, I would be able to, this precinct, it would be Dalton and the high school and so forth, where I would like to, you know, have some kind of programs with the school administration as well. So, one more time, so.
Again, it's community involvement with the schools, with the community itself, and supporting the local police departments and the local governments as far as mental illness goes, and, you know, listening to the teachers, listening to the community about where there may be problem at, and visiting with the kids or the parents or anything like that, and being involved in their lives, and not just a peace officer that comes by to arrest them. It all depends on the situation.
Thank you. This is the last question. Would you consider it double dipping for a law enforcement officer to hold a law enforcement position and a separate elected policing position? How do you do justice to both jobs?
Can I start? Yes, I do consider that double dipping. And that's what our opponents want to do. They have their full-time job and they want to get paid to be a constable, but they're not giving you full effort, 100%. And to answer some of those questions earlier, they were here. They were in their constable uniforms, and they took off. And then my other opponent puts his hands on me and keeps touching me, and I told him, don't be touching me, because he has some lawsuits pending for different things. So, yes, they want to get paid for a second job. Like I said, I could already retire. I'm going to retire if I win, so I can give 100% of my time and effort to the Uvalde. By them not being here, that speaks volumes.
Okay, Mr. Dickey?
Constable Precinct 2 will be a full-time job for me. The position is very important to me. I wouldn't be sitting up here if it wasn't. As far as double dipping goes, is it necessary to make a living sometimes? At this time, part-time work is what I would probably do in addition to full-time constable.
Robert?
Well, I'm employed here at the college, and if I am elected, I will still continue working here. That's not considered double dipping. Are you talking about more specific? Can you?
Yeah, I'm talking about law enforcement, working two places in law enforcement at the same time.
I can work. I'm sure I can work part-time here. have my constable job also. That's
Okay.
how I did it for 20 years. in the
Thank
past.
you. You guys, that's the end of our questioning for the constables.
The salary is pretty low for constables.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all's time.
Appreciate everyone being here. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So this is our last group for the evening. These are sheriff candidates, and we're going to begin with a 1-minute introduction. Mr. Arnhem?
Good evening, folks. Hello, hello. We got it now. My name's Otto Arnhem. I live here in Uvalde. Been here for 19 years, and actually been in Uvalde off and on most of my life. I attended college here. I came back later on. I was stationed here with DPS for 4 years in Uvalde. I married my wife, who is from Uvalde. We have 3 children, and we've raised them in Uvalde and Utopia as well. Got over 40 years of law enforcement experience. I had 25 years with DPS, and I've had a couple of interim police chief jobs recently. The most recent one was in Ingram, and that was this past summer. So that's pretty good information as far as my background goes. I'd appreciate your consideration and your vote in this upcoming election. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Freddie Modis. I'm a master peace officer with 30 years of law enforcement experience. I started off my career in Houston with the Houston Police Department. I was assigned to patrol for a short stint. I eventually transferred over to the homicide division where I worked crime scene, and eventually worked murder investigations. Transferred over to major offenders division, and retired. Came over here and worked for Uvalde County Sheriff's Office. Worked here 6 years, and after that, I was hired by the University of Texas police system out of Galveston. So I've got 30 years total. My family, we all live here in Uvalde. My wife, a small business owner, daughter, works at the local hospital here, and the son is actually just waiting to see if he's going to go to the military or not. So he's trying to determine if that's actually going to happen or not.
Thank you. All righty, we're going to ask the first question. What do you consider to be the 3 most important qualities for being sheriff of Uvalde County?
The first quality that you need to have is leadership quality. You have to have experience so that you can be a good leader. And probably the third quality would be listen to your public. Find out what their needs are so you can address those needs.
Leadership is important. You lead from the top. You can't lead from behind. You've also got to be engaged with the community. You've got to be able to have a relationship with the community. Those are your constituents. Those are the people you serve. Those are the people you protect. So those are two important things that I believe that are important as a sheriff. The other thing is, you've got to be held accountable for your actions as an office, as an elected official, because you are here to serve the people, and those people are going to determine if you're successful at your position or not, and they'll determine if you're going to be elected an additional 4 years after.
Thank you. Speaking of leadership, the Department of Justice report indicated that leadership failure was the cause of the botched response to Rob School. Why did that happen? Where were the leaders? And why didn't they show up?
The leaders were there. Probably the reason why, going back to what I've said before, is experience. A lot of these guys don't have the experience. Training goes into it. It's been stated in the report that everybody had not been trained in that, even though this situation has been going on for 20 years or so. You have to have that in your soul, in your body. When you want to take on a job like leading a police agency, which is protecting all of us in the community, you have to have that in yourself to come forth and give the community everything that you've got and lead. Your people will follow. It's very important. The guy at the top leads. Everybody else follows. So if you have the experience and the training and the administrative ability to do that, then you can lead and the agency will follow behind.
Mr. Maris?
Yes, the leadership was an issue. So far, 2 of the 3 leaders that were out there have been removed from office, their positions. There's one more that needs to be released of his duties. As far as I'm concerned, he failed. I think it was very obvious. I didn't think I needed the DOJ report to make that determination. It was pretty blatant, especially when he chose to go to another location prior to going to the primary location of where this incident occurred. And when he arrived there, he should immediately taken charge, demonstrated his leadership skills, and direct and instruct whatever SWAT team was there to go ahead and stack up and get engaged into the incident itself and break that threshold. The thing is, he failed to do that. He was there with ample time. He could have determined that as soon as he arrived, that something needed to be done at that point because the other 2 people that were there failed at their jobs.
So that failure has created a lot of mistrust in the community. If elected sheriff, what do you do to bridge that gap between the divides?
It's a monumental job that we're going to be faced, either one of us or whoever is the sheriff in Uvalde County. It's going to take a lot of hard effort on all of our parts, on the sheriff to get his people in line. Community involvement is very, very important. We have to engage with the community. And one of the best ways that you can show your interest in it is the job that you're doing and the job that your deputies are doing. And my management style is lead by example. That's what I plan on doing. I'm not just going to be in the office. I'm going to be with these guys. If I'm elected, I'm going to let them know that there's certain ways that things are done. Of course, my background is with DPS, and y'all know there's a difference between DPS and other agencies. I mean, we're fairly highly trained, and we've got certain ways that we do things, and I work off of that. And I've had good experiences and bad experiences, so I feel like I am prepared to make the judgment calls and lead this agency in the direction it needs to go to get back involved with the community and show y'all that we can do the job that you expect us to do.
Community-oriented policing is going to be huge. I've got to be able to establish trust and reestablish trust with the community because that has failed. There is no relationship between law enforcement and the community, the people that you serve. So that hinders the relationship between both spectrums there. It's important. You've got to be able to reach out to the people. You've got to be able to host events so people can be engaged with you, so that they can come and speak to you while you're hosting just a simple movie night for the kids, for them to enjoy themselves, that's sponsored by the sheriff's office, while the parents, if they got an issue to address, I would be there, chief deputy be there, some type of command presence there. And if they need to address something, that gives them an opportunity to at least make me approachable so they can address some issues on a one-on-one basis.
Thank you. So human trafficking has become a huge problem for our county and other counties in the border region, and it's led to a number of car chases that have been deadly, and including some Uvalde County residents. What do you do with your department to make sure that citizens are safe while still in pursuit of justice?
Well, I think that we would need to work closely with the police department. Generally speaking, these chases start outside the city and come through the city. So we would need to make arrangements with the PD to coordinate clearing intersections and things like that to make sure that this situation can get through as safe as possible without injuring anybody in Uvalde. That's the main thing. The people that are in that car that are running, if they're illegal and they don't exactly know what they're doing over here, you know, it falls on them. It's their responsibility, but it's our responsibility to protect you folks. So I would think that we would need to work closely with the PD to make sure that we know ahead of time these things are happening and clear the path so they can get through, and then they can try to further stop this as soon as they can after it gets through the city. But we don't want to cause an issue in the town that could endanger any of our citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Modis.
I've emailed the governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott. I've submitted some plans as to how I would like to address that issue. It's going to be a combined effort between the city of Uvalde as well as the county. Once we learn that there is a chase coming through or coming in the direction of Uvalde County, I came up with a choke station. What basically is utilizing Jersey barrier walls that you see on the freeway with plastic, with water and sand filled, that'll go from property line to another property line, leaving an open space for the actual traffic to travel through. Now, we received word that there's a chase coming through the county. Both the city police, county law enforcement, both respond, lay down some spike strips while the chase is coming through. Signage is provided before law enforcement reaches about a mile to half a mile down. And what they do is they shut down the chase at that point. Because ultimately, we don't want any of the citizens of Uvalde to get injured or possibly killed because of these people coming illegally into our country, into our state. So we figure, you know what, let's go ahead and hit them before they even make it to the city, and let's go ahead and utilize the spike strips. So they're either going to have to hit the spike strips, they're going to have to hit the barriers, or they're going to have to go through some property and hit some fence and actually cause damage to those fence lines. With that, what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to the governor's office also to see if we could get a fencing company on retainer so that we could have those fences repaired within 48 hours so these ranchers don't have to absorb that cost and let the state pay for that.
Thank you. Do you feel like that the sheriff's department has an adequate budget to take care of the training necessary to bring people up to speed?
That's going to have to be addressed. I'm not sure exactly what the budget is for training with the sheriff's department or the entire budget with the sheriff's department. That's going to have to be looked at, and that's going to have to increase. We have got to do what is necessary. The primary function of county government, law enforcement, is protect its citizens, just like the United States and federal government protect its citizens. Everything else comes after that. That's the primary job. It's going to have to increase. We'll have to have more funds to get the adequate training that we need. There's a lot of different avenues. There's possible of grants that we can apply for training. We may even be able to get people to come in and volunteer for training. We have an awful lot of officers that live in Uvalde County, retired officers with a lot of experience. Federal officers, state officers, city officers, I'm sure those people would be willing to come in and give some of their expertise to these new officers and young guys that we've got coming into law enforcement. As hard as it is these days to get people to apply for law enforcement, we can have those people, and that would minimize the expenses that we've got. But yes, we're going to have to definitely look at increasing the budget.
Not familiar what the budget is, but they should be able to utilize those funds when I was there for training purposes. There's no reason why we can't receive any grant funding, especially after May 24th. The money should be allocated to this area just for the purposes so we can prevent any type of further issues or future issues, similar situations, so that you can have the training, the tools needed. The tools were there that day. They just didn't utilize them. They didn't have the confidence to go do their job, okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to do a combined agency response team so that we can actually have a confident team that will break that threshold and do their job as a moral and ethical obligation to you people out there.
So the state legislature it created a law that effective in January of this year, the sheriff's department was required to coordinate a meeting with all the law enforcement entities in the county to make sure that in the event of an active shooter or any other law enforcement incident that people knew who was on their left and right. Do you think that law was necessary to create the will to have those kinds of meetings?
No, sir, I don't believe so. I think that if whoever the leaders are, the enforcement leaders in the city, the county, the state, whatever, I think they ought to figure things out themselves and jump on this. I mean, we need to be proactive in a lot of things that we're reactive in. And with all the situations that have happened over the last 20 years with schools and situations like this, we need to get proactive. I mean, they introduced the active shooter deal. Yes, we need to do it. Did everybody take the training? No, not everybody's had the training. That's a problem. That's why you've got to have the guy at the top with the foresight and the forward thinking to bring these things to his agency and bring them to the city. And also working in conjunction with your other agency partners that you've got, which we have 2 or 3 here in town. We've got the city PD is a large agency, the sheriff's department, and DPS. I think things are going to change now since all this has happened, and we will start doing cooperative joint practices, training, schooling. All that's going to happen. I think this I'll tell you, this situation in Uvalde has changed law enforcement forever in this country.
Recent documentary I saw on this incident, you had one officer who admitted that they did not train with one another. They did not communicate with one another, and that's a big problem. So having these forums where they can actually sit and actually address certain issues as to how they train and what they need to do and what is expected from that agency, I think it needs to be a combined agency response so that they all get together so that they have the necessary tools and the mentality to actually carry out their jobs. So yes, they need to have a forum so that they actually can communicate with one another and address these issues so that you don't have to worry about being concerned that these people are not trained or don't expect how the other person works, the other agency works. Been taking active shooter training since early 2000s after Columbine back in Houston. Houston was ahead of the curve. So we've been doing this since the early 2000s. Lakewood Church, just the other day, just Sunday, Houston officer, TABC officer, they did their job. They engaged the individual, the shooter, and they eliminated the threat. They did their job.
Thank you. And that's the last of the questions. Good luck.
Thank you for having us, folks.
Thank you to the candidates. Thank you to the junior college. And thank you to the audience for coming tonight. We really appreciate your attendance.
I don't know how you turn those things off, Greg.
Just leave it over there and we'll leave it to the people that know what they're doing.